everybody. Welcome to What day are we? Hi, everybody. Welcome to GC 365. We are on day 69. I'm Pastor Haley. I am the high school pastor here. And
I'm Tyler. I go to North Creek.
Go Jags. We were really trying to get at the same time, but it's all right. We support North Creek.
There we go.
All right. Well, we are going to hop into our reading right away here. We are going to start with Numbers 14. And what's happening, if you haven't read today, we're going to give you all the Spark Notes versions, all right? So the Israelites are approaching the Promised Land, and they send a few people in, actually, to kind of like scope it out, see what's happening. This happens a few times, I'm pretty sure, and a few people come back, and they're like, yeah, no, we're not doing this, because they were terrified from what they saw. There were giants, there were lots of armies, and they're just like, This isn't going to happen. And so they were trying to convince everybody, let's turn around, let's go back home. And because they were scared. And what stuck out to me is that after all of the miracles that God had provided for them or done for them from the very beginning, just by getting them out of Egypt, they were already willing to turn around and forget the work that he had done for them. They were afraid. And so that leads me to my first question for you, Tyler. Mm-hmm. We're going to just like hop right in with a deep question here.
Okay.
All right. So these Israelites, they stopped dead in their tracks. They were a little bit hesitant to what God could do for them. And you were a student that a couple years ago now, you were coming here Sunday mornings, but you weren't attending our high school service. And I called you out on it, like I do to everybody. And I was like, hey, why haven't you gone yet? And kind of tell us where you're at. So I guess not really a question, but tell us where you started and where you're at now.
All right. So I was definitely like just coming here every couple Sundays with my parents because they were always here. And then I volunteered at the chips and salsa stand right down there.
Yep, that's right.
And then you kept asking me to go. I don't know how I came, but I ended up going the night. And then now I'm part of the student leadership and coming every Sunday.
Yeah. He did more than just give it a shot. You brought like 5 friends that night. I think you were probably like, hey, I'm not doing this alone, guys. And yeah, it's paid off and you've seen God work. And there's so many times where you've been like, all right, I'm ready to see God move even more. Mm-hmm. And now we're going to attempt to go on a mission trip. And
to Mexico.
To Mexico. So let's hope it happens. So that I think is just a testament to you guys. If you have had a moment where you're like, I don't know what God's going to do, I encourage you, just like I encourage my students, to give it one shot. Just try it out. It's all it took for Tyler. It's all for a few students. That's what it took. And they're all in. And that might be what God's asking you to do, to just take that one step and he will provide the rest of the way. Well, I do want to look at verse 11 here really quick. Let's see. Wow. Oh, no. Okay. It says, and the Lord said to Moses, how long will these people treat me with contempt? Will they never believe me, even after all the miraculous signs I have done among them? I will disown them and destroy them with a plague, that I will make you into a nation greater and mightier than they are. So God recognizes that these people are walking away from him. And he's like, hey, look at all the things I've done for you. But I think it's interesting that he begins to question his people. And I wonder if he's asking this question to Moses to almost see where Moses is at in his faith. And being like, what are you going to do about your people? Are you going to follow them? Or are you going to be the leader that I've called you to be and continue to walk with me? Is there anything, before we wrap up this chapter, anything that stood out to you here?
Well, I saw on verse 20, he said, I'll pardon them as he requested, because he wanted to just end it all and like say, we're done with this. This is not working. But then he just decided to grant Moses' request and not kill all of them and not like pardon them.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good thing to look at and be like, okay, he did forgive the people. However, he didn't let them go into the promised land. He's like, I'm not going to kill you, but you're going to stay in the desert. You're not going in. And that's like, I think a few other people have mentioned this before, but like, you get to Disneyland and your parents are like, you're forgiven for the fits that you've thrown in the car, but we're not going in. Like, that's so sad. They don't get to go. But it's also, in that sense, like a bad ending to a movie. Being like, we've been reading through this journey of all the things that they're trying to do, the things that they've turned away from God for, or the things they've gone to God for. They've asked for forgiveness. Now they're turning away from him again. And you're like, you're rooting for them to be like, let's just get this over with. And now it's like, nope, you're not going in.
Yeah.
So it's pretty sad. Can you think of a specific movie that had a bad ending?
Not on the top of my head.
Me either. But if you know one, put it in the comments because, I mean, they're out there. They truly are.
Comment down below.
Yep. And then here's the other thing. Those people, God says, no, you're not going in. And they're like, okay, we hear what God said. Let's try to go in anyway. After they've been told no, they try to keep going. And I think that I can speak for myself and knowing that like God has probably told me no so many times. And I've been like, are you sure? I feel like I know what's best for me, God. I'm going to try to do it myself. And he knows best for a reason. He is our Heavenly Father for a reason. But let's go into the New Testament in Mark. What stood out to you or any questions that you had in this part of the reading?
So a question that I had, who are these high priests and why do they have all this power?
Yeah. So I guess we could tell them what's going on here. And if you, again, haven't read it yet, but it's the trials before Jesus is put on the cross, before his death. And so, yes, these high priests have come in and they get to call all the shots. And so the reason why they have so much power and get this say is because they've been appointed as the high priest, kind of as the pastors of the church. They're the ones that have said, we know the law, we know what's right. But that's where the problem is, where we know the law, and they were so focused on that alone and not by God's grace and his son. And so that's where they were getting all of that. And these people trusted them, but it shows that they're human. As I read this, I realized that unfortunately, the religious leaders, the high priests, they had already decided that Jesus was going to be killed. They were just trying to find the way to do so. So, yeah. And at the very end, they ask him, who are you? Are you the Messiah? And Jesus says, I am. You will see the Son of Man seated in the place of power at God's right hand and coming on the clouds of heaven. And it's so sad, but to see like, okay, this is where they got him, because they're like, no, there's no way that you are. But he had to answer this question or else he would be denying who he was. And he knew his mission. He knew how hard it would be. And so that's where he's like, I am the Son of God. And so I think that's really cool to see him own it. For sure. And we see Peter deny who he is. And how did that make you feel? Reading about Peter being like, has now followed Jesus for so long. How did you feel about that?
I felt like it was kind of weird out of sense because he's like, keeps telling them, no, I'm not with him, just because he knows if he says, yes, I am, something's bad's going to happen, or maybe like people will pick on him. And I just feel like that's such a bad way to go by it. And people should not be like judged for what they believe in, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And unfortunately they are, but to be honest, it just made me angry. It's like, come on, Peter, you know better. Like, you know. And he did. And Jesus even told him like, no, this is going to happen. And he didn't believe it. But yeah, so that was unfortunate. And let's end with our Psalms and Proverbs. What stood out to you in either one of those passages?
Yeah. In Psalms, we see that verse 5, he displays his power. And then once you're with him, everything will go good for you. And he will put your like enemies down and put you up, I guess, in a way. Yeah.
And yeah, to me, I recognize the same thing, but being like, those who without God don't have the comfort to lean back on, at least we have that and knowing. So if you've been struggling with that or being like, I don't know where to fall when I'm in trouble, know that if you are with God and you have that relationship, that it's that nice pillow to fall back on. You can have the protection of his wings to say like, I have comfort in this. And in Proverbs, we'll end there. Verse 4, it says, riches won't help on the day of judgment, but right living can save you from death. And to me, just I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory
Self-explanatory.
right there, but being like, it's not about the money. It's not about our material things. It's about how we live for God.
There we go.
Yeah, that's
Wrapped
how
it
we're
up.
going to end it. So thank you for watching. You're doing great. Keep going strong, and we will see you on Sunday.